Well, good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. A year ago this evening, she was one of the most powerful Democrats in America. Now she is one of the most despised within her own party. Donna Brazil's been around an awfully long time. She ran Al Gore's presidential campaign in 2000. She was the acting chair of the DNC from July of 16 through November. But then her book came out. The title is Hacks, the inside story of the break-ins and breakdowns that put Donald Trump in the White House. Among other things, she says the DNC colluded with the Hillary campaign to effectively rig the primaries of last year. Plenty of professional Democrats, including CNN President Jeff Zucker, have been enraged by that charge and sought to undermine her credibility as a result. What does she have to say in response? Donna Brazil joins us tonight. Donna, thanks for coming on.
Hey, Tucker, you know, what a great honor to be with you tonight after the Democrats did so well across the country yesterday. So I'm excited to be here, excited about what happened in Virginia and New Jersey, and excited to talk to you about my new book, Hacks. Let me just say this up front.
Wait a second. Let me ask you a question. Congratulations on your party success last night, by the way.
Thank you.
But let me just ask you this. I've been watching, because I've known you a long time, and I've watched you work for more than 20 years. And I'm watching people who know you well, journalists and Democratic Party officials, go after you. And the one thing I notice is that the attacks all sound the same. And my guess, and I want to ask you as a professional political person, it seems obvious that there was coordination, that someone's doing oppo on you in response to your book. Who do you think that is?
You know, Tucker, I don't really have time to figure out who is spending, I'm sure, some much-needed money that needs to go to Democratic candidates next year to figure out what I said in this book is factually correct. I want to tell you, I wrote up front, I wanted to write this book to tell my story. I wanted the American people to see what happened. I became chair of the party for the second time in my life because our party was under attack. We were hacked. That's why I was called upon to step up to become chair again.
Right.
And I think when you read the book, Tucker, and you mentioned it, we've known each other a long time. And we were colleagues once at CNN. The book it tells some hard truths. Because as you well know, I'm not just any Democratic operative. I'm an activist. I come from the grassroots. I care about my party. I care about the future of my country and our democracy. And as chair of the party, we lost an election last year. Many people thought we were going to win. And so I did a forensic examination of what we did wrong and what we could do better so that we can win elections in the future.
Well, that seems like a wise and obvious thing to do. It was an unexpected loss. Why not figure out why it happened? But you're not seeing very many people in your party go along with that course. And instead of listening to your analysis of why Hillary Clinton's campaign failed, they're attacking you and impugning your motives. The Hillary campaign, almost every member of it, released a statement accusing you of buying Russia-fueled propaganda. Jeff Zucker, your former boss over at CNN, was enraged when he read the book excerpt that ran in Politico last Thursday. And you're seeing your former colleagues say you're just doing this for the money. Why aren't they more willing to listen to the prescription that comes out of this book?
Well, first of all, many of those individuals who signed that letter, I know them. I've been in the trenches with them for more than 30 years of my adult life. And if I had to go back in the trenches with them next year, I will go back because I believe in justice and fairness and equality. But I want to tell you, when I became chair, I didn't take a salary from the DNC. I gave up everything. I took a leave of absence from CNN and ABC. The only thing I really went back to was teaching at Georgetown because I loved my students and I wanted to be there for them with a historic election on the horizon. Tucker, I wrote this book because I wanted Democratic activists, rank-and-file Democrats. Those are the people I listen to. Those are the people that I respond to. I wanted them to know how hard we worked to elect Hillary Clinton and other Democrats up and down the ticket. We came up short, as you well know, Tucker, less than 80,000 votes short in 3 states. Then tonight we would be having a different conversation.
Right.
We would be talking about Hillary Clinton's first year in office. Instead, we're talking about, you know, how the Democratic Party can come back stronger so that we can become more competitive in 2018 and beyond. And what I saw last night, I see a party that is capable of coming back out of the wilderness. I see a party with fresh faces, new blood, new energy, in large part because Tom Perez and Keith Ellison, Karen, and so many other people on the DNC, they are working hard to change things for the country.
But you haven't mentioned anybody who helped run the Hillary campaign. Robbie Mook, for example, would you hire him to run the next Democrats' campaign?
Well, you know, Robbie and I are both at Harvard, and one of the things when the Democrats win the popular vote and the Republicans win the Electoral College, people like us get to go up to Harvard and take a forensic examination of how we can improve our democracy. I went over to see Robbie last week. Look, I have great respect for Robbie and his team, but I was very tough on them in the book. Before you go on,
I know you were, and I want you to see what he's saying about you now on television. Here's part of it.
The idea that the DNC could rig a contest, frankly, is laughable. The allegation she's making there simply isn't true. We certainly don't recognize the campaign she describes. We also don't recall some of the events she said that happened. I'm sure her publisher put her under a lot of pressure. I wish she just put her foot down and said, no, I'm not going to do this.
So he's describing you as a hapless pawn of your publisher.
Well, you know, I'm the third of 9 children, and the one thing my parents taught us was to stand up, fight for ourselves, pray, and get up the next day. Here's what I know. I was chair of the party, but more importantly, I was an officer of the DNC. I've been a member of the Democratic National Committee since 1997. I know how things operate. I'm a former chair of the party. So to suggest to anyone that I don't know what I'm talking about, really, I'm not focusing on what Robbie is saying. I am focusing on making sure that grassroots Democrats know that our party is going to become stronger. You have to let these wounds heal. We had a very competitive primary. I don't know when the Republicans will sit down and heal their wounds, but we are healing our wounds, and we're going to learn how to become a stronger, more effective party in the future.
So here's part of what you say about Robbie Mook in the book. You said, I'm quoting, "I've worked with men all my life in politics, and I can sense when they get to this part about not being able to deal with a woman. It was not a racial thing, it was a gender thing. Every time you mention that they're trying to shut you down because you're a woman, all these guys are like, no, 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 no." So my question is, you're saying you were the victim of sexism from the management of the Hillary Clinton campaign. What was their response when you said, look, don't treat me different because I'm a woman?
Well, you know, I may have also stated in a book, I think I did in 3 or 4 chapters, that it was also generational. Remember, I come from the old school. I come from the school when you have a 3x5 index card. I come from the school, Tucker, that you actually knock on doors, you talk to people, you try to get their support, and then you try to get them out on election day. Robbie comes from a school that is a lot different than the school I came from. They do algorithms, they do data modeling, and when I would come back to
and they do sexism too. Apparently, from your book.
You know,
which is a little weird since Hillary ran a whole campaign on breaking the glass ceiling, and here's the guy running her campaign diminishing you because of your sex. It seems ironic, maybe.
You know, it was dismissive. I don't, condescending and dismissive, those are the words I characterize in the book. Because I came back and said, Robbie, I just left Little Haiti, or Robbie, I was in Cuyahoga County, or Robbie, I just left Colorado. And I wanted the campaign to understand that we needed yard signs, we needed radio spots. You know, on August 19th, when Donald Trump said, what the hell do you have to lose? He made that comment in front of a black audience. Here I was, the chair of the party, and last time I checked, I am black. And I said, I want to respond. I had to write a column because I didn't control my resources. So I was fighting, Tucker, for what I normally fight for in a campaign, whether I'm a campaign activist or a campaign chairwoman. I am fighting for resources to get our message out, because my job was to help elect Hillary Clinton and Democrats from the courthouse all the way up to the United States House and Senate.
So you have this scene in the book that's been much remarked upon where Hillary's really sick. You say she's overworked and she's got a bronchial infection, maybe pneumonia, and she's so sick that you have this moment where you think maybe we need to replace her. Maybe she won't be able to continue, and that's the point at which you said maybe the vice president would be a good replacement. That's such a big deal that it was striking when I read that. I thought, here there are 1,000 reporters covering this campaign, and not one of them picked up anything like that the candidate's health was that bad, that she was being considered maybe not able to finish. Do you think reporters knew that? How could they not know that?
Well, let me just tell you, I had a lot of reporters who were calling my office, calling my home, texting me, sending me emails. In fact, there was a reporter that I mentioned that broke the story to me that she had fainted. And I immediately called up to Brooklyn, and I tried to reach people on the road with her to find out if this was a rumor. As you well know, Tucker, with the Russian meddling in our campaign, and yes, it happened, there was so many rumors that you had to debunk. And so by the time I saw the video, when the video went viral, you can imagine what was happening within the Democratic Party, what was happening inside the inner circles.
Oh, I remember. And everything was fine. I remember that. Everything's fine.
Every 5 to 7 minutes. Hillary is a friend. I cared about her health. Yes, I cared about her campaign, but the last thing I want to know how she was doing. I want to know if she was okay. That's why in the book you read that I suggested that she get some acupuncture, because I like acupuncture. It helps me when I'm out there fighting.
Let me ask you quickly about the Russians. You have a lot in the book about that and your concerns about hacking the servers over at the DNC. If you believe the Russians did that, why didn't the Democratic National Committee allow the FBI to examine those servers? Why were they given over to a vendor and not the U.S. government's investigators?
You know, that is a great question, and let me tell you, it's in the book as well. When the DNC officer, who was Debbie Wasserman Schultz, when it was brought to her attention, she immediately reached out to get cybersecurity experts on board. She reached out to a former number 3 at the FBI who is currently working with a group, an organization called CrowdStrike.
Yes.
Along with our cyber attorney, they provided the FBI with everything that they requested. Remember, we were still using our system.
Come on now. Come on now.
Tucker,
if you think, so bottom line is it's Debbie Wasserman Schultz who made that decision. I think that's the headline here. But if you really think that the intelligence service of a foreign government is breaking into your computers in the middle of a campaign, you want actual federal investigators to get to the bottom of it. You're saying that she stopped that.
No, she did not stop it. She cooperated. She cooperated. She turned over everything. But Tucker, we were still running a party. We still had our mainframe, being managed, being remediated.
But you could allow the FBI access to that,
Let me just tell you, we spent over $60,000 to provide the FBI and the government because we wanted their help. Tucker, after I received my FBI briefing in August, do you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to go over to the Pentagon. I didn't want to go back to the DNC. I wanted somebody to put yellow tape around the DNC. I was scared. We were under attack. And, we signed...
Well, I don't know if we were under attack or not, because federal investigators never had access to your servers.
If you recall, James Comey went under oath and said that he was able to get everything he needed from the DNC.
He doesn't know
from this credible source.
He doesn't know that. No, because he didn't have access to your servers. He shouldn't have said that.
Why would we hold on to servers that were
I don't know the answer to that. I was hoping to get it from you.
Well, when I became chair, let me just say this. From the moment I became chair, we cooperated with DHS, FBI, CIA, anyone who would help us. We wanted help.
Yeah, but not enough to give them your service.
Our country was under attack, Tucker. It wasn't just the Democratic Party.
No, look, I mean, we don't know the answer because Debbie Wasserman Schultz apparently wouldn't turn him over. So a couple of days ago, a Hillary Clinton supporter had this to say about you on this show.
I don't know whether Donna Brazile is a kook, but what she says is kooky.
Now, we're going to get your response to that next. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to formulate your response to Richard Goodstein. More with Donna Brazile in just a minute.
Thank you.
Taking a look at live pictures of the President of the United States motorcade in Beijing, China, the capital city. He's leaving his hotel. Well, welcome back. We are still joined by the former chair of the DNC, Donna Brazile. So, Donna, really quick, before I get your response to the clip we showed you before the break, when was the last time you talked to Bill and/or Hillary Clinton?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
When was the last time you spoke with Bill or Hillary Clinton, and how did the conversation go?
Oh, in the book I said I spoke to Hillary in February. I believe the date was February 10th in Baltimore when the Democratic Party was hosting its final future forum to elect new officers for the Democratic Party.
Right. But have you spoken to her? I mean, the reason I'm asking is every Democrat I know, the professional Democrats, from Jeff Zucker, all the way to Jen Palmieri and all the people you've worked with over the years, all seem mad. And I know the Clintons are in that group. Have they complained to you or people you know? Like, what's the response you're getting?
Well, first of all, let me just say this. And last week, I reached out to as many Clinton staffers as possible to let them know that my book was finally coming out, excerpts. I didn't have to do that. I also flew down to Washington, D.C. to inform my colleagues at the DNC. Again, I didn't have to do that.
Right.
Look, I am a Democrat, a lifelong Democrat. And, you know, if they choose not to read the book or they decide to write their own book, I hope they will do that. Tucker, I read Hillary's book, What Happened. It's a great book because it's historical, it's biographical, and also, as a woman who's been very, very active in politics, I thought she really examined some of the reasons why she fell short. So I suggest for those who are upset or not capable of stomaching my book, go write their own book. But I want to respond to that last clip that you that you showed me before the break.
The one where the male Democrat dismissed your claims of having experienced sexism by saying you were crazy, something I thought we weren't allowed to do.
First of all, my mother, when I was a little kid growing up, my mother used to say, it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. But I want to channel another woman who I admire so much, and that's Michelle Obama, who said, when they go low, you go high. And perhaps what I did on Sunday when I told some of my detractors to go to hell, and as you well know, some of my conservatives know that I have always had a quick tongue. I've told people in the past what I really feel. I should have channeled Michelle and just go higher. I'm thinking now, Tucker, as you know me, and I've known you for a long time. We haven't gone fishing, but I got a lot of kids out there that know me, that believe in me. They know who I am. I walked the streets in Virginia with them just recently. They know that I stand behind them. They're up at Harvard, they're at Georgetown, and I want them to know that I am still the same Donna that they've always known. I'm feisty, I'm gusty.
Well, I've noticed that.
And as you
so
well
they've
know,
come
Tucker,
after you. They've come after you and said, look, it's a little much for you to criticize the DNC for colluding with the Hillary campaign when you conceded that you leaked questions to the Hillary campaign during a CNN town hall, before a CNN town hall. My question when I'm reading this is, did no one at CNN know that happened? Did they really learn for the first time when they read your book? How could they not have known that?
Well, Tucker, I surely hope everyone will now go out and buy the book. It's called Hacks, The Inside Story.
Hold on now. Slow down. Wait. There was a question there. Did nobody at CNN know that you did that? So you say, look, you apparently got them from...
Oh, no, Tucker, you cannot put words in my mouth. Look,
I'm just
I got
asking.
on some lipstick from Fox, but that has not forced me to not stand my ground. I said in the book...
No, but it's not your ground. I'm asking about CNN. You then worked. You haven't gone on their air. They're mad at you, obviously.
No,
but did they know that you leaked these questions? Really simple question.
You know, Tucker, I said last year.
Sounds like they did.
No, Tucker, don't try to put words in my mouth. I said last year that CNN never provided us with any questions. CNN never gave us anything in advance. But what I did say, and what I've said in the future, in the past, and what I said in this book, is that I, as an officer of the DNC, and I know WikiLeaks gave everybody, certain questions and certain emails, but as an officer in the DNC, I sought to expand the number of debates. And I wanted to make sure that we had diverse voices and we covered issues that had not been discussed in previous debates. And what I did, give me one more second, and I know it's your show. I'm not trying to take over. But what I saw, you don't, Tucker, I know you too well. What I sought to do, Tucker, was to ensure that we had these issues on the table, and I made sure that our candidates, I didn't want them blindsided. That's what I admitted to. That's what look, what WikiLeaks put out.
That's the greatest spin I've ever heard. I didn't want them blindsided. Hey. That's so good. You should do this for a living. That is hilarious. Let me ask you a personal question. In the book,
WikiLeaks sought to divide us. These were active measures where you got to see the things I gave to Hillary. You never got a chance to see the things I gave to Bernie or Martin O'Malley. And let me just
I'm totally happy. You bring those and I'll put them on the show anytime. In the book, though, I just want to ask you, this is a sincere personal question. You describe a number of occasions where you felt threatened personally, where you felt like you might be hurt by somebody, and you're not very specific about who might have hurt you, but it's clear that you were worried about it. Do you still feel that way? Are you worried? Are you getting threats?
This was an unusual political campaign. season last year. And at night when Donald Trump, and I wrote this in a book, and, you know, I've gone to church and said to, you know, the God I worship, like, I am not going to hold any anger in my heart. But President Trump every night would go out there and say that Donna Brazile, Donna Brazile. And you know what? The moment he stopped talking, my emails, my Twitter, my phones, it got blown up. And yes, I got plenty of threats that were just, let me just say this, they were over the top. And
Are you getting them now? Are you getting threats right now since the book has come out?
Of course. When people see things that they disagree with, they don't just say, Donna, I don't like that. That gumbo is not the right kind. You're using andouille sausage, not the hot sausage. You know what they say? I must rather not have you or the gumbo. Tucker, unfortunately, we live in a world now where even appearing on this show tonight, even taking pictures with people I disagree with, people attack you. They attack your motives. And everyone who has said, Donna is making money, well, first of all, that's a good thing, because Donna got a lot of mouths to feed. But people are just questioning why Donna would write her book, because Donna likes to write. Please read the book. This is a great book, a wonderful
I believe
gift for
Amazon
Christmas.
has sold out of it,
Well,
but I'm sure they're
more
furiously
on the way.
restocking.
Tucker, you and I got to go fishing, because I have a recipe that I think will make your tummy feel really good. Let me just say one last thing.
Come back.
I worked very hard to elect Hillary Clinton. We fell short, but next year, watch out. Next year is going to be a blue wave, Tucker. I hope you have me back on the show.
Anytime.
All
Donna
right.
Brazile, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tucker.
So what does a Hillary Clinton backer have to say in response to what you just heard? Chris Hahn is a syndicated radio host and a former aide to Chuck Schumer, and he joins us tonight. Chris Hahn, thanks a lot for coming on.
Anytime, Tucker.
So look, despite, I mean, we just heard some explanations, you know, not all of which were entirely clear, but the bottom line remains this. Donna Brazile called early that the campaign was ignoring the basic theme of the season, which was populist economics. Okay, she got that. Robbie Mook and the rest of the people in Brooklyn did not get that. They mistreated her, she said. They did not take her seriously because she was a woman. She says she experienced sexism in that campaign. I don't think that's something Democrats can brush off as ridiculous. And third, she says that Hillary Clinton actually really was sick, genuinely sick, and that someone who was running the Democratic Party and wanted her to win was so worried she thought about replacing her. Those are not small things.
No, they're not small things, but I will say in defense of the sexism charge, they treated a lot of people poorly, and it's probably why they're not president right now. You know, there was a lot of grassroots activists that were very turned off by what was going on in Brooklyn, and that was a major flaw in the campaign. And as they do the autopsy of that campaign, that's one of the things that gets repeated over and over by people I know who are close to it.
Right. I think that's an honest response, and I've heard that from a lot of people. But it elides over maybe the core irony here, which is that a campaign whose whole rationale was empowering women was treating at least one woman less well because she was a woman. Sexism from the Hillary campaign, I mean, that honestly, do you know what I mean? That's like PETA opening a butcher shop. It's just, it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I listened to the entire interview, and it was a great interview, and I don't think she really confirmed that it was sexism, but it definitely was. She was treated poorly. She was treated poorly by them, and I don't doubt that at all. In fact, you know, look, there was this "I'm smarter than you, leave me alone" attitude from that campaign, which was part of their flaw. And Donna Brazile was right. They were ignoring the signs in the street because they were trusting those algorithms too much. And that's what happens when you do that, I guess. You got to use both. You got to be in both places.
No, I think that's right. And yet, rather than admit that, I mean, that's clearly true. Okay, it's clearly true.
Right.
And yet, rather than admit it, you're seeing this weird little cult around Hillary gather around and think of ways to rebut Donna Brazile's book. Basically, it's all defense. Let's attack her. Instead of just conceding, you know, it was kind of a badly run campaign. Obviously, they lost. Why is that always their instinct?
Let me just key on a word you said, little cult, because it is a very little cult at this point. Most of the people who are against Donald Trump have moved on. That was very evident last night in Virginia and other places in the country. So while there are going to be some loyalists to her who will fight till the death for every last criticism of the campaign and of her, I think it's a very small group, and I think most people have moved on at this point.
Yeah, it seems to include an awful lot of reporters, which is why it annoys me. But I think your point is probably fair. Chris, thank you.
Anytime.
One of the most interesting revelations from our Donna Brazile interview, Mark Steyn joins us after this. We're also watching the president's welcome ceremony in Beijing, China. We'll be right back with that as well.
To do, Tucker, was to ensure that we had these issues on the table, and I made sure that our candidates, I didn't want them blindsided. That's what I admitted to. That's what I look. What WikiLeaks put out.
That's the greatest spin I've ever heard. I didn't want them blindsided. Hey. That's so good. You should do this for a living. That is hilarious. Leaked the questions to a candidate because she didn't want her blindsided. Mark Steyn is an author and columnist. He's seen plenty of political scandals in his long career. And was watching that. I'm sorry, I don't typically laugh in the middle of an interview. But I didn't want them blindsided. She didn't answer my question, which it's hard to believe that nobody knew that had happened. Maybe nobody did, but it's hard to believe that.
Well, she answered with one of the all-time great lines in the history of broadcasting. She said, "You should have seen the things I leaked to Martin O'Malley." And actually, I would like to see that, because I believe that's actually a big box of nothing. I don't believe, I like her as much as everyone likes her. And you should go fishing with her. I'd rather go fishing with Donna Brazile than go fishing with Hillary Clinton, because you get the feeling you'll be sleeping with the fishes by the end of the afternoon if you go fishing with Hillary. But I do not, she says a lot of, I do not believe that Martin O'Malley was, his email account was buzzing with helpful non-blindsiding leaks from Donna Brazile.
Kind of hard to imagine that. It's interesting, though, the venom that has come out from Democrats since this book emerged. I mean, look, Hillary lost. It was obviously a massive failure on her part. That's not hidden. The Democrats know that. And yet, Democrat after Democrat has said, many in the media basically, why would you betray the party? Especially before a critical election, yesterday's election. They were infuriated by the timing of this. Kind of a Stalinist response, I thought.
Well, that's the great advantage that party has always had since the Clinton years. They don't have John McCain's. They don't have figures who sell themselves to the public by standing against their own party. And you made an interesting point, Tucker, when you said you wondered why so many media figures take Hillary's side on this. I think Hillary has two kinds of supporters. I think she has bagmen like the outgoing Virginia governor, Terry McAuliffe, who basically looks at the Clintons and thinks, I'd like to be doing sleazy 10-figure deals with Kazakh oligarchs just like Bill and Hillary do. And then you have media figures who think, I'd like to be getting six-figure sums for Clinton Foundation speeches on diarrhea in Africa that nobody can listen to. And I think if you actually take those two groups out, you get to the problem here. The reason the Democrat Party has lurched left is because the moderate centrist wing is represented by a corrupt dynastic kleptocracy, i.e. the Clintons. They tainted Democrat moderation and Democrat centrism.
That's very smart. And very sad, by the way. I mean, a party ought to have a vibrant centrist wing, and they don't. I've never thought of that. It's a really smart point. Mark Steyn, thank you. You always make this
show better. Thanks a lot, Tucker.
Yesterday was a bad night electorally for Republicans. What does it mean going forward? There are lessons from it, and we'll have those next. We're also watching President Trump's welcome ceremony in Beijing, China, and we'll be right back. Last night's elections were pretty awful for Republicans. Bill de Blasio, who's probably the least impressive mayor in the United States, easily won another term in New York City. Democrats took the New Jersey governor's mansion, installing yet another Goldman Sachs alum in a position of political power. In Washington state, Democrats won the Senate and with it total control of state government. But Republicans had their very worst night in Virginia. Ralph Northam beat former RNC Chairman Ed Gillespie by almost 9 points. That's 3 points more than Hillary Clinton's performance in Virginia last fall. It's almost 7 points ahead of Governor Terry McAuliffe's win 4 years ago in Virginia. Yesterday morning, to put it into perspective, Republicans had 2/3 of Virginia's House of Delegates. Now, depending on how a few races shake out, Democrats could have a majority. It was a rout. How did it happen? Well, Donald Trump is unpopular in Virginia, and that's definitely part of the reason. But it's not the whole story. Democrats won after embracing the dark side of American politics, exploiting racial fears and deepening tribal divisions. In real life, Ed Gillespie was a pro-immigration moderate. By the end of the race, Democrats and their reliable allies in the press were dismissing him as a white supremacist. Northam's allies ran the single ugliest political ad in living memory. It charged that Republicans want to hunt down and murder non-white children. The ad didn't make a political argument. It didn't take a position on taxes or crime or the environment or schools or anything that might make the state or the country a better place. Its only purpose was to terrify and divide. This is the politics of racial hatred. Vote for me because the other guy wants to murder your kids. Our opponent isn't misguided. He's evil. There's no defending an ad like that, but Democrats did it anyway. In a normal party, someone with perceived moral authority would have stepped forward to denounce the ad. Barack Obama, maybe, or Bill and Hillary Clinton. But all of them were silent and allowed the race baiting to continue in Virginia, and it did. This is an ominous development in American politics precisely because it worked so well. Democrats across the country inevitably will imitate what just happened in Virginia, and they'll probably win a bunch of races as a result. You'd think they'd care about the consequences of sowing racial division in an already racially divided country, but they care about winning more. Northam's victory tells you a lot about the Democrat strategy going forward. The party has all but stopped making rational arguments or even trying to win swing voters over to its positions. That's time-consuming. It requires compromise. It's much easier just to change the composition of the voter base. More than 50 years after Ted Kennedy's Immigration Act, it's no longer even necessary for Democrats to win native-born middle-class Americans who work in the private sector. So they stopped trying. Virginia has transformed politically because it has been transformed demographically. For example, in 1970, 1% of that state was born outside the United States. Today, that number is 12%. 12% of Virginia is foreign-born, and that has made all the difference. So if you're wondering why the idea of national borders is suddenly so unpopular among Democratic office holders, if you're wondering why the deadly plague of opiate addiction in middle America causes barely a stir in Washington, now you know the answer. They're not their base anymore. They've replaced you. Well, you shouldn't get too apocalyptic about any one election result, though today marks the one-year anniversary of what is, pretty much beyond a doubt, the most remarkable election result of the past 40 years. It turned out to be a humbling event for the press, which went into the race absolutely to a person believing Hillary Clinton could not lose.
Not only does Florida fall to Hillary Clinton, but this election overall we could be talking landslide.
Trump is headed for a historic defeat.
I think that she's going to have a very good night.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president. And the reason is because I have a lot of faith in the American people.
You'll be shocked to learn that Bret Stephens was wrong, and everyone else, too. These experts and some celebrities showed what they thought of the result and the American people's choice immediately upon learning about it. Watch.
America is crying tonight. I'm not sure how much of America, but a very, very significant portion, and I mean literally crying.
Deeper concerns tonight that the world's shining light of democracy has gone dark.
Because I'm on this network and people know my attitudes about things, they come up to me and they're scared, depressed, despair, desperate even, almost clinging to me.
You have people putting children to bed tonight, and they're afraid of breakfast. They're afraid of, how do I explain this to my children?
That's a pretty extraordinary thing to say. If you have a son in the Marine Corps and that you don't trust the commander-in-chief. The people in the military defend the Constitution.
The message that I want to spread out to other women is exactly what you're saying, is not to give up. Sorry, I hate crying.
She deserves to be the first female president. And that's what makes me so sad.
Anybody but Donald Trump. Anyone.
Well, the ruling class was hysterical. Thought we'd remind you of that. Why were they? Because it all disempowered them. They thought they were in charge and found out they weren't. Remember that. Well, a powerful liberal group says it's time to remove the Star-Spangled Banner as the national anthem. Why? We'll talk to someone who agrees with that call next. The California branch of the NAACP is calling for the Star-Spangled Banner to have its status as our national anthem revoked. The group recently approved a resolution calling the anthem, quote, one of the most racist, pro-slavery, anti-black songs in the American lexicon. Jason Nichols is a lecturer in African-American Studies, University of Maryland. Maryland, of course, being where the poem was first written, and he joins us tonight. Professor, thank you. So obviously, I mean, I think everything about this is ludicrous. There are tons of problems in America, including the African-American community. This is like number 9,000 on the list. But just to the specifics of it, this is a song that celebrates the participation of black soldiers. I don't really know how, I mean, it's right in there. I don't know how this is a racist anthem. I honestly don't know what they're talking about.
Well, first of all, I think we have to enter in a word that's been missing from our discourse for about at least the last year, and that is unity. Does this song have a unifying message? Now, when it's talking about murdering hirelings and slaves, it doesn't necessarily sound like that's something that's going to bring about unity. I look at other anthems that we've had around the world. For example, I know every word to the Puerto Rican anthem. Now, when you listen to that,
you like that one better, I guess.
I think it's a beautiful song. I think we can do better in representing each and every American. Isn't that what an anthem should do in all of our symbols?
Yeah, I mean, look, if we had an anthem that called for murdering Americans of any kind, free or enslaved, or, you know, I would be against that.
So you're saying that the descendants of those slaves, who are Americans like me, that their feelings or anything doesn't matter?
I think they do matter. I think they do.
That's great.
I just don't know where you're getting that. There's nowhere in the song that says anything like that.
Well, actually, I mean, the song, first of all, mentions slavery and then the land of the free in the same stanza. That makes us sound kind of contradictory to the world.
Well, I mean, so does the Declaration and the Constitution. I mean, this was written in 1814 when
the Constitution makes no direct
No, it doesn't. But I'm just saying, look, the song does not call for the murder of any American, okay? And again, here it is. Oh, thus be it ever, when freemen shall stand, that is African Americans, free ones, between their beloved homes and the war's desolation, blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven-rescued land,
Let's go up to the third stanza.
All right, here's the third stanza.
And it's extremely violent also.
Yeah, but it's not against Americans. It's saying
it's against slaves. So you're
no. It's against the British soldiers, and it says whether they're hirelings or slaves, like anybody who's fighting on behalf of the British. Okay, this is a description of a battle from a war against a foreign power.
Understood. So slaves who were fighting for their own freedom under whatever circumstances, you believe that we should, as a nation, have an anthem that talks about their death?
Of course, I couldn't be more opposed to slavery, obviously. My only point is that this song is about fighting British forces. And it's just saying, whoever is coming from this other country, we don't care what your status is. If you're coming here to fight us, we want to beat you, because it's a song about a war. It is a song...
So should that really be our national anthem? Shouldn't it be about the beauty that America is, like America the Beautiful?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's about the beauty of the flag waving over Fort McHenry in Baltimore, and we're still here, and we won, and we're still a country. It's like it's awesome.
The other thing that we have to understand is this wasn't our anthem until 1931 is when it became our national anthem.
That's actually not true.
We shouldn't argue for tradition for tradition's sake. That's what the argument that people made for Jim Crow. That's the argument that people made.
It has nothing to do with Jim Crow, obviously.
No, but that's not what I was saying.
The U.S. Navy was their official flag-raising song in the 1880s.
But as our national anthem, it did not happen until 1931.
Okay, but so what? I'm just saying for your lifetime, for mine, for almost every living American, this has been our national anthem. No one has ever seen any racial overtones. There aren't any in the song.
No one ever saw it. I teach it every semester.
Well, you do, because you're trying to subvert the idea of this as a national symbol because you're a left-winger. But the truth is, it's not inherent to the text. It's not there.
Did you read that again?
Yeah, I did, and you were wrong. They're talking about foreigners.
You absolutely started to cut it off.
They're not Americans. No, I didn't. These
are foreigners. Enslaved people, because they didn't have the rights of citizenship. Their lives didn't matter.
No, because they're British soldiers. That's the point, because they're foreign soldiers.
Because they were fighting for their own freedom.
And the Brits enslaved them, and they shouldn't have. And I agree with that. But, we're against people we're fighting wars against. That's it. Anyway, keep this song. Spend your time doing wholesome things. Thank you, Professor. The press has been fear-mongering on guns for a long time, but USA Today just took it to an unbelievable new level. This is real. We checked. You can't miss this. Stay tuned. What if you took the deadliest weapon journalists can imagine and combined it with a landscaping tool that none of them have held in their hands? That'd be the scariest thing ever. It'd be like a Reese's peanut butter cup of death. Horrifyingly, this weapon exists. The chocolate part is the AR-15, a rifle so wicked the press often mistakenly calls it the assault rifle 15. The tasty peanut butter, the chainsaw, just like the ones used in Evil Dead and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Turns out the chainsaw bayonet is real. You can attach it to your AR-15. That's at least according to the fever dreams of USA Today, which today released an online video scaremongering about the possibility of an AR-15 chainsaw bayonet, a rampage of death and destruction. Mass shooters are bad enough. What if they were able to prune shrubs as well? Congress must act. That's about it for us tonight. That's all real, by the way. Tune in every night to the show that is the sworn enemy of lying, pomposity, smugness, and groupthink. Have a fantastic night. Sean Hannity is next. Good night from Washington.